All right, so today I kind of wanted to talk about, a little continuing on of my story, and then just a few other things that I observed when I quit drinking, and some things that helped me, namely the benefits of stopping, what happens early on when you quit drinking, and probably, I listed the top three things, the top three ways to get sober. But I probably left out, not probably, I left out definitely the number one thing that you need to know if you're serious about it. And again, this video is not geared towards people that have a glass of wine with dinner once in a while or that don't have a problem per se. This is for the people that have been honest with themselves and realize that, yeah, you have an alcohol problem, or you're an alcoholic. You have a drinking issue and you need to stop. So I'll just start with when you do stop, be prepared for the first few days or first week. It's not going to be fun. Everybody goes through, especially if you've been drinking heavily for a while, you're going to go through a period of time where you have the shakes when you wake up in the morning. You'll probably have a really hard time sleeping. You'll experience a lot of anxiety, and these things are not a lot of fun to go through. However, don't go back to drinking to make yourself feel better, because it will temporarily, and you know that. You'll want to, well, I'll just have a couple, to take the shakes away, to take the edge off, or I'll have a couple at night just to help me sleep. But that's the lie, that you'll just have a couple. Maybe you will once or twice, but that's not going to last, and you'll be right back where you started. And unfortunately, in my experience and everybody that I know, every time you stop drinking, if you have a problem, it gets harder. It gets harder every time you try to stop. So, you have to fight through the period of time that's uncomfortable. There's going to be a lot of uncomfortable times, not just with the anxiety, shakes, and the physical aspect, but there's going to be some uncomfortable times as you try to progress through life without alcohol, probably trying to clean up some of the messes you've made, potentially correct some of the mistakes, repair some of the relationships that you may have caused damage in. That's going to be uncomfortable as well. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and it's going to take a lot of humility. A wise man I know has said many times, you need to find comfort in the discomfort, because for a little while things are going to be uncomfortable. But what you need to look towards is the big picture, that at the end of it, you're going to be much better off. You're going to feel better. I mean, there's a ton of benefits. Health benefits are obvious. If you're drinking heavily on a regular basis, you're doing damage to your body. It's poison. All the money that you're spending on it. I mean, picture how much money a week you spend on alcohol times 4, and think of what you could buy if you're into golf, for instance. How many rounds of golf can you play with the money that you're spending on alcohol? I like sneakers. I like Jordans. Like, how many pairs of Jordans can I buy a month just in the money I wasted on alcohol? And if you think about it over the long term, it's significant. Definitely a benefit of better decisions that you'll make. I can say personally that the majority of the bad decisions I made in my life were alcohol related, or influenced by alcohol. It's no secret that you make stupid decisions when you're drinking. That's why you're not allowed to drive a car under the influence of alcohol. It's not just the slowed response and everything else, but you make stupid decisions. It definitely makes changes to your thought process. So there's a lot of benefits to stopping. It's just a very few of them. But ultimately, the summary is your life will be a lot better without it. That's the big picture that you need to look at as you're fighting through the rough first few days or first few weeks, is that in the end, if you stick with it, your life is going to be tremendously better. So I guess one of the biggest benefits, just an example for me is, this week I'm off of work, and I get to hang out with my 2 older boys all week and do fun things. And there was a period of time 4 years ago where my wife was filing for divorce. Didn't really trust me to to have my kids all day, rightfully so, because I was drinking during the day. I was making stupid decisions, and I just wasn't, if nothing else, I wasn't present for them like I should have been. And the things that I did do with them, a lot of it I just flat out don't remember. There's pictures, thankfully, but I just don't remember a lot of things. And now, being sober, I get to experience things with them and remember them and be a present father and husband, and that alone is a benefit enough for me. If you love your kids, love your wife, whatever, if you love life in general, you're going to be a much more present person and have a better quality of life and remember what in the world happened yesterday without it. So that's benefit enough, honestly. So the other thing I forgot to mention, so when you do stop, the first few days, first few weeks, you're going to encounter times where people are going to invite you to do things that you usually used to in your life revolve around alcohol. It could be golf, it could be going to sporting events, it could be just going and hanging out with friends. You're going to have to change the habits of your life a little bit, early on especially, to keep yourself on track. It may mean that you have to cut yourself out of those social situations or out of the events or things that you used to enjoy, at least for a while, until you get yourself straightened out. And that's okay. Again, you look at the bigger picture, it's well worth it. And then, when you have a little bit better handle on things, then you can start introducing those things back into your life. You just have to make sure that you're in a place mentally that you can handle saying no. Now, if you are honest with your friends or whoever you're doing these things with and tell them, look, I'm stopping drinking because I have a problem. If they're your real friends, they'll support you in that. They won't tell you, oh, well, you can just have one, you can just have, a couple or whatever. It's fine. You don't really have a problem. You were just going through a tough time. Those aren't your real friends. They're lying to you, telling you the same lies that you're telling yourself and that you're believing. And you're just going to go back down a dark road. So if you have true friends and you tell them what you're trying to accomplish, they'll support you in that. It's one of those things, though, that you have to be in a place that if you are around people that are trying to offer it to you, that you are strong enough to say no. One of the best things that you can do is make sure that you have another sober person with you and say, hey, look, I need you to keep me accountable tonight. Make sure I don't do anything stupid, and this is what I'm trying to do. I'm so many days without it, and I don't want to go back. So have somebody there that you can rely on that will keep you accountable. And also having another sober person at things like that will help it not be as awkward for you. But yeah, in the short term, it's honestly best for a while to just cut all of that stuff out. And unfortunately for me, I had to cut a lot of people out because I had a lot of drinking buddies, and I knew that I wasn't strong enough to say no. I wasn't strong enough to abstain on my own, so I just avoided a lot of those people. And it kind of was eye-opening as time went on who my real friends were and who weren't. My quantity of friends went down tremendously, but my quality of friends went through the roof. So on to probably the biggest piece of this, or the most important piece of this, is the number one thing you need if you want to be successful. The one thing that will raise your likelihood of success the most is going to be that you need God in your life if you're going to try to beat anything. Are people successful that don't have God in their life? Sure, but if you want the highest chance of success, that's what you really need. I know some groups talk about having faith in a higher power as a necessity. I'm not talking about any higher power. I'm talking about God. I'm talking about Jesus Christ is who you need. You need to dive into your faith. That's going to be the number one thing. That without a doubt, is the biggest key to my success was my faith. When I was going through the separation with my wife, she filed for divorce, kicked me out of the house. After I was, sober maybe 3 or 4 months, and she could see that I was truly sober. We weren't living together, but there was enough people around me keeping me accountable, and people that she knew that would vouch for that she started to at least have a little bit of communication with me. We started out, she would attend church with me. We'd go together, I guess you would say, for a little while. And that time together, the fact that I was really pushing hard into my faith was a icebreaker. It was a game changer for us. There was a lot of prayer on my part for the reconciliation of the marriage. I'm not going to say that, like, if you do this, that your relationships will be mended 100%. I mean, you have to remember that if you're in this position, you've probably done a lot of damage, and sometimes, this can be what repairs it, and sometimes it's damage that just can't easily be repaired. And it'll definitely take a lot of time, authenticity, and honesty, if there's any hope of it. But we went to church together for a while, and there was a lot of ups and downs. In the down times especially, my faith, my belief, and my surrounding myself with other Christian friends is what got me through the tough times and kept me from going back to drinking. My wife went through a lot of times of doubt. She didn't want to get hurt again, so she was very cautious about allowing me back into her life at all, and very, very cautious about having feelings for me again, and opening herself back up and being even remotely vulnerable. And it's totally understandable. During those rocky times, my faith is what kept me on track the most and what got me through it. There were a lot of pieces of it. Just our marriage reconciliation in general is nothing short of a miracle because of the damage that I caused. And without God's hand in the mix, there's almost no way that we would be where we are now a few years later without God's hand working in our lives. It had to work in my life to change me, and a lot to work in her heart to allow her to forgive me for the things that I had done and said, and help rebuild that trust. And then moving forward, we had reconciled, and I moved back in, and then a short time later found out that she had MS. She had multiple sclerosis. She was diagnosed with. She had spent a couple of days in the hospital with some neurological issues we didn't know at the time, and then she gets this diagnosis, and they started her on a treatment that was I think at the time the strongest treatment that they could give for MS, and her symptoms were progressing very fast. She had to quit a job that she was working because she was losing functionality of one of her hands. She was falling, in her mid-30s. This is a lot of decline very quickly. So shortly after she started the treatment, we found out that she was pregnant with our 4th child, and she had to stop the treatment. And during that time, I had gone to a big event at that our church at the time put on, and did a lot of praying there, and had a lot of other people praying for some sort of a miracle to cure her of the MS, if that were possible, for some sort of relief or some sort of help there. And her being pregnant was not really the answer to a prayer that I thought was going to be the fix by any means. It was confusing at the time, because then she had to stop the treatment. But as it turned out, a couple months into her pregnancy, her symptoms virtually disappeared, every single one of them. And we come to find out that sometimes women get pregnant with a neurological issue, the symptoms go away. We were not planning on having another child. That was, I don't want to say an accident, but it was not planned. that's for sure. So at the time, it seemed kind of crazy that would happen after we're praying for some sort of a miracle for her neurological issue, and lo and behold, that was the answer to our prayer, is that her issues went away. Our youngest is now 13 or 14 months old, and she has not had any symptoms return. I don't believe that is any sort of coincidence. That is, just an example of our faith, and of, that we were blessed because, at that point we were being obedient to our faith, and that we were, blessed, and our prayer was answered, and not the way that we would have had planned, but I can say for certain that the way I have things planned is never as good as God's plan. So, there's a degree where this all ties together, that you need to dive into your faith, you need to have patience. Whatever it is, you're not going to fix whatever the problems are that have arisen because of alcohol, or alcohol in general. This is not something that's going to be repaired overnight. There's going to take a lot of perseverance, a lot of hard work, a lot of humility, but it all can be repaired. You just have to stick to it, and the best way to stick to it is your faith and surrounding yourself with like-minded people to help you get through it. But it can be done. It can be beaten. The group that I'm in every Thursday night is a faith-based group, and the success rate of people beating addictions of all kinds, alcohol, drugs, pornography, you name it, the success rate is extremely high, much higher than a lot of groups that I've seen or been a part of. And God is the reason why it is successful as it is, and the community and the accountability that comes along with a group like that. So, kind of rambling. I hope this is helpful to somebody. As I think back on the journey that I've had with this, I'm always trying to think of things that worked for me. I know that everybody's situation is a little bit different, but a lot of these things will help whatever you have going on. If even a few small pieces of it can be beneficial to you, I hope it helps somebody. That's kind of been my goal as I've gone through this journey, is that I want to help somebody else get out of that hole, because I remember what it felt like being a slave to a substance, and it's not fun. It's a depressing, awful place to be, and I hope that anybody else that's in a position like that can get out of it. And I will do whatever I can, share whatever I can share to try to help anybody else get out of that hole. If even one other person can turn their life around and repair the damage they've done, then me sharing these stories on the internet is more than worth it. So hope this helps. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them. I appreciate you watching. Thanks.